No fancy set today, no podcast, no nothing, just me in my bedroom with this annoying ray of sunlight on my face teaching you guys how to do a hop tailwhip. Now, I've made a how to tailwhip before, but this one's going to be specifically for hop tailwhips because they're so fun and they're a lot different than fly out tailwhips. So make sure you stay all the way to the end because, as you guys know, I do really in-depth tutorials, so you don't want to miss a key component that, is at the very end that could be the key, the missing key to you being able to do a hop tailwhip. So make sure you stick through the whole video as it's designed for you to take in every single little piece of information I have and not just a few random tips that you heard in every other video. But make me a deal, if you enjoy the information today, hit that like button and let me know down in the comments below what how-to I should make next. Let's get right into it. So I'm reading off a little bit of a script here. I've got some notes put down, and right now we're gonna talk about what to do before you should even think about doing a tail. Well, I guess you've got to think about it a little bit in order to prepare, but you know what I'm saying. So here's what we got to do before you go out and try. I highly recommend you pad up because just like with most of the tutorials I do, I say, yo, you gotta pad up because it just builds confidence. It does nothing but make you feel safe and more like you can just send it and not worry about getting hurt. Because let's face it, what you're worried about right now is getting hurt. You're worried about the dead sailor. I'll teach you how to never have that happen. You're worried about, getting shitters and slipping pedals. I'll teach you how to never let that happen. Now, of course, never say never, but with the tips throughout this video, it's gonna drastically decrease your chance of screwing up big time. So pad up. I always wear ankle pads. Most of the time when I just go ride and have a normal session, I've always got ankle pads. I don't know why, but I always hit those little ankle ball things. I always hit them. But when I was learning tail whips, oh yeah, I had ankle pads, 2 pairs of socks, thick shoes, and shin pads. I would focus on your ankles and feet. I mean, you might slip a couple pedals, but when I was learning through my personal experience, regular whips and switch whips, the big problem was my feet was catching. Even landing the trick hurt. So make sure you pad up until you can get them really clean and they stop hurting. So step 1 of before is pad up. Whatever makes you feel comfortable. Helmet, elbow pads, I don't give a shit, man. Just pad up. Number 2 is practice the motion. Now, I'm sure you've heard of the washing machine motion, but this is actually really, really important. Now, I'll show you how I actually do this, but I am left foot forward, so I kick with my back foot. I kick with my back foot clockwise as I dipped my left wrist. As the bike is traveling, the bike is now completely away from me. We're kind of centered, and then as it swings to the right side, you dip the right wrist. So it's just kind of like a wave, like a I don't know why people call it washing machine motion. I think that's kind of stupid. I feel like it's more of a kind of like a wave, you know what I mean? I don't really know how to explain it, but just watch me do it and replicate it. You want to understand the motion, and if you do this washing machine motion, I'm just going to call it that for now. If you do that motion completely full through every single time and you don't, stop halfway, you won't get dead sailor. You got to commit every single time. You kick it out from under you, then it's completely on your arms. Your legs do a little bit, but it's mostly your arms. So get that motion down. So let's say you're left foot forward, you kick it with your back foot, you're kicking it clockwise. The bike is now at 90 degrees. Your left wrist is down. The bike is 180 degrees. Your back centered. The bike is at 270 degrees, and your right wrist is down. So basically, you follow your back tire with your hands. So that's how when you're in the air and you kick it out from under you, that's how you snap it around really fast. So you must understand that, and you can stand next to your bike and practice that motion over and over and over until you can just snap it around every single time. I also recommend learning how to foot jam whip and kick it as fast as you can. So learning foot jam whips will kind of somewhat teach you the motion, not as much because you can kind of just sit there until the bike goes around. Practice that washing machine motion a little bit, but really what it's going to help you is with catching. So practice doing tail whips standing next to your bike, just get the motion, and master foot jam whips so you can catch every single time. Now, where to do it? What I did is I found a very slight bank. You might have to start, so if you can fly out tail whip, you might have to start with a steeper bank, but basically what you want to do is you want to start with the bank and start going to a more and more and more mellow bank. So what I did is I was up a bank about this steep, I tail whipped out of it, then I tail whipped into it, so I knew what the hop felt like, but I used the bank both ways to give me a little bit extra time, and then I just went to work and spent a lot of time, probably about 15 minutes before I finally mastered the hop whip. Alright, so now how to actually get into the whip. Don't underestimate all those steps before. A lot of people just go for the tail whip, but it's before and after. That's the most important part. All these how-tos tell you how to tail whip, but they don't tell you it's like a sandwich, dog. You got the bun, which is before, the tail whip, which is the trick, the meat, and then, of course, the bottom bun. It's not a sandwich without all of them. So now the tail whip. Get as high of a hop as you possibly can without losing control. So basically what that means is hop, and then once you start getting to the point where you're kind of like leaning back, or you're pulling, or you're starting to get kind of sketchy, That's too high. Just go right below that. So hop as high as you can while still being comfortable and in control. So here is where the foot to hand distribution comes in. So it's going to be 30%. For me, everybody's a little bit different, and maybe for hop whips it's a little bit more in the kick, but for me personally, my tail whips, mine is 30% kick, and that's just to get it out from under you to get the bike to go to 90, and then the rest of it, it's 70% arms. That is mostly what you've got to focus on. So hop high, kick it out from under you, do that washing machine motion, and then when the bike comes around to 270, that's when you need to start catching. Don't wait till it's under you, because you'll overwhip it like you'll see a lot of people do. You may have already tried. When it's at 270, that's when you want to start catching it. So from 270 to the full 360 rotation, stick that foot out, slow it down, so that way your back foot just kind of lands back naturally where it started instead of having to chase it all the way over. Start catching at 270. You're not going to catch at 270, but somewhere in between there, your front foot's going to be on the front crank, you're going to slide it down, and the back foot should go on because you should have practiced foot jam whips and got those dialed so you understand how to catch. And then once you've just clamped your feet back on, you just roll away. A lot of people say, oh, catch pedals. Honestly, who cares? Do whatever you want. I catch cranks. I think it looks better. I like how it feels. I will probably never ever catch pedals. If you see me catching pedals, it's going to be an accident because I personally don't like how it feels. Some people, it's like, oh, you catch cranks? Well, do what you got to do. If you can hop tail whip, just be stoked on that. If it's the ugliest thing, if you double dribble, if you land one-footed, but if you landed a hop tail whip, that's a major achievement. Be stoked. You'll eventually dial it in however you want it to look down the road, but for now, you did a whip. Okay, so comes the bottom bun, the big tips, the after. The two main things I tell people, and I say this so much, is you want to keep the bike low. So many people, they'll do the hop tail whip and they're tail whipping up here. Dude, you want to keep, if you see when I'm jumping, my tail whips are by my knees. My knees are next to my bars, my crossbar. I keep it super low because your bike is not going to be able to naturally go to your feet if it's way up in the air. You want to keep your arms as low as you can so that way it naturally slides the pedal right under where your foot started. You're never going to catch it if you're just, in the air squatting hoping to catch it all weird. You got to keep it low so the bike naturally lands right under your feet. The second thing that I tell people, I always say this, low and close. You're never going to do a tail whip, especially your first one, and it's going to be much harder to land if you're doing a Superman. You got to keep it low so it lands right under your feet, and you got to keep it close so that way you don't really have to move your feet. You might stick your foot out to catch, but you want the bike to end exactly where it started. So the second you go up and you kick it, don't let your bike move. Keep it right there. Lock it in place. The only thing you need to do to move your bike is that washing machine motion. You're not going like this, you're going like this. So keep it low and close. I cannot emphasize that enough. So I always say this in every how-to, but record yourself in slow motion and see what you're doing wrong. I guarantee if you didn't land it, it's because you didn't keep it low enough or you kicked it too far away. Low and close. Remember that. And what I would do is I would watch the video of you and compare it to the video of me doing a hop tail whip in slow motion. Compare my tail whip versus your tail whip. See what I'm doing right, you're doing wrong. Boom, fix it. It's the quickest way to correct your mistakes. And you're not wasting any time with trial and error. You try it, you don't land it, you analyze, and you go for the successful tail whip. And I'm going to emphasize this once again, really focus on the arms. That was my first problem. I was kicking it, and it was really hard to keep low and close, and I was like, well, it's going everywhere, because when I kick it, I was trying to do that whole thing, like move my entire bike, but randomly, I just happened to try the dipping the wrist, and not only did it keep it low and close so the bike was landing much closer to me, but it was a snappy motion, so the second I started doing this motion instead of that, my bike would tail whip way faster and it would land in the right position. I'm gonna see if I can find my first hop tail whip I've ever done. I think it's on YouTube, and I did it kind of I did it like kind of in a slight grass bank, and that's a good place to do it. And I don't know if I have my first concrete tail whip on camera, but I'll throw in this one, the first hop whip ever. But yeah, feel free to watch this video multiple times through because I did give you a lot of information, and these videos are kind of designed to have you watch all the way through and maybe even once or twice again, then go try it and come back and compare my tail whips to yours. I hope this helped you guys out. If it did, hold up your end of the bargain, hit me that like and subscribe, leave a comment on the next trick you want to learn, and I'll probably make it pretty quickly because I'm doing daily uploads and I need ideas. If by chance you're still here in the video, I'm going to link below a podcast I did with my dad discussing the history of skateboarding and BMX. It's a lot of really fascinating stuff. It's on his channel, and he would greatly appreciate it if you liked commented and subscribed to his channel. It means the world to him, and it's a really good podcast with me and him talking about the history, and it's really fascinating. So if that sounds cool, check it out. If not, that's totally fine. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, and I appreciate you being here.